Hello everybody, welcome back to another KP's Place YouTube video or podcast if you're listening on Spotify for podcasters. KP here, and we have our SummerSlam results. We're going to be going through everything that went down in Detroit at the biggest party of the summer. I am joined today by Kurt and by Scarlett, and like I said, going to be discussing everything that went down, ranking the matches. We're going to say what we thought of them, and yeah, basically break everything down. So, without further ado, let's get on and let's get started. And let's pick off with the very first match of the night that saw Logan Paul take on Ricochet. And going into this one, you thought, yeah, this one could potentially be one of those sort of like outside chances of stealing the show. Has like an opportunity here to be very sort of like high octane and very quick paced. And that's exactly what it was, to be fair. It was non-stop basically from start to finish. Both guys really sort of like got involved like tremendously throughout the course of the match. And yeah, I mean, when you look at some of the spots that happened in this one, they were pretty impressive. He had some really top athletic maneuvers throughout. There was a Spanish fly landing at ringside, which is quite nice. Logan Paul had a nice tornado DDT reversal after Ricochet caught Logan's moonsault. I think Logan Paul did a buckshot lariat to ringside. Ricochet just generally being an athletic sort of presence during the match. Logan getting the win was what I think all of us predicted in the predictions video, actually. So it's kind of expected, but it didn't take anything away from the match. Like, it was a great performance from both guys, and it got the show started in a really tremendous fashion. So that was very nice to see. But with Logan winning the way he did as well, with obviously the use of the brass knuckles, showed that he was desperate for a win after obviously facing loss after loss after loss as of recent. So I don't think it did Ricochet any harm losing like this. Yeah, great match to start off with. Really enjoyed it. I give this one an 8.5 out of 10. Just loved it from start to finish. It was really, really good.
So for this match, I thought it was really good. I was expecting it would be like a dirty win because we know Logan Paul can't get proper wins. So I give this match a 6 out of 10. I would just prefer it to be a clean win, and thought this match was really good and good to see.
Yeah, so overall, I thought this match was really good, as we kind of all expected with the talent that was in the ring. I did have a concern that maybe a match this long, which I think it was longer than most, if not all of his matches so far. But that, you know, maybe this would be an area where we see a few things not executed to perfection that we've seen so far, but it didn't happen. Outside of the one Spanish fly spot, everything went pretty well and was a fun match to watch. Yeah, Logan Paul just he almost makes Ricochet look not as good as he is, just because of how little time he's been in here and keeping up with him as well as he is. It's impressive to see. My only complaint about this match was the finish, but such as WWE, it seems it can't have a heel win clean. Instance we'll see more than once tonight. But yeah, I gave this one a 7.5 out of 10. Would have been an 8 probably without the finish, but let's just let a heel win clean from time to time. That's my only complaint. But yeah, I can't say enough about Logan Paul. Sky's the limit for this guy.
All right, cheers, guys. Thank you very much for those thoughts there. Yeah, it was a good way to start off the show, and whether you agree with Logan's antics towards the end, it got him the win, so fair enough, I suppose. Right, let's move on then to what followed this match then, and obviously with the second match of the show, and that was Brock Lesnar taking on Cody Rhodes. So the rubber match here, the decider between the two of them, obviously the third of the 3 matches, so 1-1 going into this one. Who would get the win? That would be Cody Rhodes. He would go on to fight through adversity in this one and pick up a win at the end. It was a huge fight between the two opponents, and it came up with the right result in the end. We all predicted, I think, a Cody Rhodes win, and it was the right call. Cody goes on to bigger things now. He goes on to whatever he's going to be doing afterwards, and he's bypassed this Brock Lesnar blockade. So that's obviously what he's looking to do. He's got past that now. He can focus on other things. But let's talk about this match as it was. A large part of the match was spent really with Brock trying to get Cody counted out. I really just didn't enjoy watching that whole segment of the match. It was quite slow, sluggish, call it boring or dull, whatever you want to say. I didn't really I didn't find enjoyment in watching that particular part. So it was very much a case of Brock would perform a move on Cody, knock him out, whatever. And then it would be a case of going out to the ring, hitting a move. I think he hit an F5. He put him through the announce table and would, wait for him to get back into the ring again. And then ultimately go from there. It was just very, very slow. And I didn't really rate that particular part of the match. But that cast aside, Brock's split shorts towards the end was quite amusing. The way he tried to cover up was quite funny as well. Not sure how Cody didn't get disqualified though with those steel steps. I don't know what happened there. I know you can use the steel steps if you throw someone into them. That's never been questioned. But to actually physically pick them up and use them as a weapon like that, I don't know. I've never seen anyone do that in a standard match before, so I'm not sure what the ruling there is. But yeah, bit of a weird one. But I mean, fair enough, I suppose. The referee maybe didn't see it. I don't know. But either way, Cody took a lot of punishment, fought back to get the win, and at the end, Brock Lesnar would shake his hand. They have a little hug in the ring as well, and yeah, whatever Brock's reasoning is behind that, showing a sign of respect or whatever, acknowledging the better man, I don't know. But either way, that happened. So, kind of cool. The feud is over. I'm happy with that. Let's see where Cody goes from here. I give this one a 6.5 out of 10. Like I say, it's just that bit in the middle I just really didn't enjoy. It just felt so slow and sluggish. But yeah, that's my general thoughts of this match.
Yeah, I agree on KP with this one. I thought this match was kind of boring at the first start when Brock Lesnar kept dragging Cody out the ring and just doing one movement and then trying to make a count out for him. I was kind of surprised that they shook his hand and congratulated each other. Maybe possibly Brock turning back to a face. So I rate this match 7 out of 10. Agreeing with KP said it got boring in the middle start of it of Brock doing the match. So that's what I'll give it, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, basically what's already been said. I guess that was just an attempt to prolong the match, to get away from Brock's typical, 3 to 5 minute suplex, couple F5s and a finisher. Maybe that was their intention on doing the keep away from the ring kind of bit. But yeah, it was just a little too much. Maybe half the length would have been okay. But yeah, what they did was a little too much. Yeah, the end with the handshake was odd as well. I was almost certain that Brock was going to do something and they were going to continue this feud and we were going to be stuck with this for a little while longer. But thankfully that didn't happen. I will say that Brock did a great job of selling, both during the match, up until, the pants rip bit, and then he kind of made the Cody Cutter look a little weak, which I don't think is a super strong move to begin with. But that and the handshake, kind of just passing the torch kind of segment there, was nice to see how far he's come from his stubborn days in the beginning. So overall, I'm happy with the result. And the match was better than a standard Brock match, I guess. So I'll give it a 5.5. But yeah, happy to see this one end, and we'll see where Cody goes next.
Time to finish the story. But now, all jokes aside, I don't really know what is next for him, but I'm sure he'll probably get on something a bit more enjoyable than this was. But again, maybe I'm just not the kind of guy that enjoys Brock Lesnar in the ring. Okay, so how about we move on again now, and we go on to the third match of the evening, which was the SummerSlam Battle Royal, sponsored by Slim Jim. And going into this one, 24 men were announced. That was as of the kickoff show, just before, obviously, the main show started. And we were going to be awaiting on who the 25th member of this Battle Royal was going to be. And that would be announced to be Omos. MVP's voice would be heard literally right at the start. and Omos would be the one to walk down to the ring. He's the last entrant into the match. So would have liked somebody to have been a bit bigger in that spot. I don't know, like not in stature. Obviously, there's no one bigger than Omos. Like he's like over 7 foot tall or whatever he is. But yeah, I just would have liked a bigger name ideally. But either way, I mean, you had Omos in there. He's a big guy. Battle Royals always go well with his big guys, and everyone teams up and takes them out. And that inevitably happened with him. But let's talk about the winner of this one. And I got everybody saying LA Knight, yeah. The absolute right call here, because if they didn't take this opportunity now, then when were they ever going to take it? I mean, I know it's only a Battle Royal win. Nothing massive comes off from this, but it's a momentum builder. It shoots him on that sort of right trajectory, starts that push perhaps, and, you know, it can sort of like give the fans a bit more confidence that, you know what, WWE are going to push this man. So that's awesome. But yeah, he needed a big win here. He finally got it. And let's hope he goes on to something much bigger going forward. The match itself was, I'd say, a standard Battle Royal. You had lots of individual moments, which included those that are sort of like building respective feuds within the Battle Royal. So again, you know, just sort of like the standard elements that you'd expect to be involved were included. Again, I mentioned Omos getting teamed up on. That worked kind of well. Obviously, you know, you had to eliminate the biggest threat, and that's what they did. I think Omos won a Battle Royal of WrestleMania a couple of years ago, and they didn't do it then. So, you know, learn from their mistakes, perhaps. Gable, I thought, had a really good involvement throughout the match. Chad Gable, I thought he was very heavily involved and showcased himself quite nicely. And then you got LA Knight doing well in front of a hot crowd, which was just awesome to see. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. I don't really think it's possible to give it much higher than that. It was just a standard Battle Royal that, you know, had a good winner. And, yeah, I liked it. But, hey, not bad. Great stuff for LA Knight.
So, yeah, I agree with KP on the 25th man return. I thought it would be someone a bit bigger, definitely not Omos. And as I heard of MVP's announcement, I said, why does it have to be Omos? And I'm glad that LA Knight won. He deserves it by a big push, and hopefully he will do big things in the future, possibly get a title match. So I give this match a 5 out of 10. Thought it was really good, and would fancy like whoever wins gets like a title match after they win. That's only my downfall for that.
Yeah, and it is, you know, a Battle Royal, I guess, is a Battle Royal. But got goosebumps with the ending there. Finally seeing LA Knight given some kind of momentum. It was written on the wall, basically. But to see it happen, see WWE pull the trigger, if this isn't the beginning of the push, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I think it is, though. We'll see where they go with it. Every time this dude comes on screen, the crowd pops. So you just gotta strike while the iron's hot. Don't, you know, learn from your past mistakes. When you didn't do it, what happened? Nothing good. So let's take it and let's see what happens. And then yeah, the actual match itself. I'm a sucker for when they eliminate the big guy. That's a lot more fun to me than the big guy taking everyone out. So, yeah, we'll see where he goes. I gave this match, I guess, a 6.5 out of 10. Most Battle Royals are probably around 4 or 5. So, LA Knight winning definitely had a big part in that.
Yeah, it was great to see LA Knight picking up a win. It was definitely time. And let's see what the future holds for Mr. Knight. Okay, so moving on. Let's go on to a slightly different trajectory here, and something which caused a lot of discussion over the weekend. We had the MMA rules match featuring Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. And this one was there. It was on the card. It was an interesting vibe. Like, I think this one could have worked better if it was maybe in like a structure. Perhaps if this was like a fight pit match, that would have been pretty cool. But yeah, it started off, and obviously it was the very sort of like MMA style fight. It was like sort of slow paced to begin with, both women squaring each other up, and I just don't think it worked. I really don't. I think it fell flat with the crowd. I think it fell flat with people watching from their homes and wherever they were. And no one really felt it. I don't know if I'm wrong, but obviously I'll give you guys a chance to maybe say something different in a moment. But I really didn't enjoy it. I just couldn't get behind it. Like, Shayna winning was the perfect result from this one, in my opinion. She sees off Ronda Rousey. Shayna gets that big premium live event win, and she can now, perhaps be known as like the next baddest woman, or whatever they want to go down that route with. But it's a massive win for her. Huge momentum to be gained from this victory, and yeah, I love it. But the match, though, it just really wasn't fun. Struggled to enjoy it. Thought it was incredibly slow paced throughout. I'm not an MMA fan personally, so maybe it's just coming from a misguided place of opinion here, but it just wasn't for me. That's all I have to say, really, regarding this one. But yeah, Shayna winning, fantastic, great result, but the match itself, not so great. I gave this one a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, for this match, I agree with KP. I would rather prefer a KO to win the match, because that's mainly like boxing kind of MMA rules of more like people get a knockout to win the match. But it was just basically like a submission move, and it looked like Ronda wasn't really actually passed out, because she didn't make the face like she was passed out, for example. And I would expect a bit more to this match. As KB said, would prefer in like a fight pit match or a steel cage match to make it like more intense, so like boxing kind of reference. So I didn't really enjoy this match. I thought the ending was a bit rubbish, and the match in total was completely boring and just watching like a chuckabout match. That's what I call it. So rate this match a 4 out of 10. Didn't really like it. It was not the best that you were expecting. So that's what I was going to rate it for.
I think part of the reason why this match didn't go according to plan might have been because of how hot the crowd was just before this. Everyone finally getting to see LA Knight pull through and get a win. Maybe that was part of the reason, but I think maybe like 20% of the reason. I think 80% of it was just because Ronda was in the match. And an MMA match, I honestly don't feel like this would have worked with anyone. Especially someone that the crowd just don't like, hate. It's just, and I really don't feel like this gave the push that it needed to for Shayna either. Yeah, she won, but it really wasn't that convincing, and you could see it in the crowd too. Everyone was getting up out of their seat, going to the restroom, using this as the bathroom break match. That's not what you want to see for this. This should have been, and I think also plays a part as Ronda rumored to leave, and then I think kind of confirmed through her social media. This whole feud was rushed, and so they did what they could with the build-up, and I think that was well done, as I said. But it was so rushed that I don't think Shayna really got what she could out of it. Had they extended this a few matches and over a course of a few months, or at least maybe even to Mania, like everyone kind of thought would eventually be the case, but instead we just got a weird MMA style. I think like a steel cage match probably would have been better served. Or hell, any match, if we're being honest, I guess. But yeah, Shayna got the win, but I don't really feel much better about her push than I did before. She beat Ronda, but Ronda hadn't really been doing much anyways. So we'll see. We'll see. Shayna at one point, after her elimination chamber a few years back, was on top of the world. Whether you like that or didn't. So we'll see if they can get her back to that status. Because I think the women's division needs a big baddie like Shayna. So we'll see where that goes. I gave this match, I guess, a 3 out of 10. That feels generous even. It just wasn't a good match. It didn't work. Hopefully we learned our lesson and we don't have any more of these going forward.
Yeah, I'm happy if we never get one of these again. Didn't work. Let's just, leave it there, move on. And speaking of moving on, how about we do just that? let's talk about the match that followed this one, and it was a slightly more enjoyable one, to say the least. We had Drew McIntyre challenging Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, and it was, we wanted to use the term barnstormer in the build-up. It was exactly that. It was really, really fun to watch. It was great. Came up with the best outcome in the end as well, with Gunther retaining the championship. Don't get me wrong, Drew McIntyre winning would have been kind of cool, but just the wrong time, I'm afraid, for McIntyre. Gunther's on this great run, and it needs to continue, and so it is, which is awesome. He's even closer to breaking Honky Tonk's record. He truly deserves to do exactly that. Let's talk about the match. It was pretty hard-hitting and intense for the duration. Both men kicking out of others' finishers. I think you had Gunther kicking out of a Claymore after he had powerbombed Drew McIntyre, who had kicked out of that one. So that was like a couple of like really nice spots there to finish off. For both men to kick out of. The ending was pretty good, I thought. You had Drew landing on the top rope, obviously getting a little bit of downstairs discomfort, getting splashed by Gunther shortly afterwards, then got hit by a clothesline, and then finally got powerbombed. So it was essentially just wave after wave after wave of onslaughts there. Gunther picking out all the big moves and eventually putting McIntyre away. It was a great finish. It really sort of like showed how much Gunther had to really sort of like go to the well in order to get the job done. Very interesting watch. It's going to be pretty interesting to see where these guys go from here on, because obviously Drew McIntyre coming back specifically to challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. Now that he's lost it, what does he do there? Who knows? And then obviously you've got Gunther. Where will his reign go? Who's he going to be challenged by next? And definitely some interesting questions coming from this one. I give this one a 9 out of 10. Very much enjoyed it. Really good watch.
Yeah, so for this match, I really enjoyed it too. I would love to see Drew win this match, but obviously looks like they're going for Honky Tonk Man's records for Gunther. So this match was really good and really good fun to watch. So I rate this match an 8 out of 10. Thought this was really good.
Yeah, it was nice to see everyone return from the restroom just in time to watch this match. I think everyone had pretty high expectations for this one, and myself included. If I have one complaint, is that maybe it was a little too short and the ending maybe a little too sudden. That being said, I love the match. These two guys are just, professionals and know how to handle themselves in the ring. It was interesting to see the trajectory of these two guys. You have, Gunther, who's, everyone's expecting to hold a world title soon in the near future. And then McIntyre kind of going, the opposite way, was on top of the world, and now he seems to be declining a bit as far as his push goes. This feud felt kind of weak from a build standpoint. It just it felt like he was just kind of entered. His return was kind of cool to see. But that was kind of the peak, I think, for me. I feel like this should have had a much bigger build, and I feel like the match could have went much longer. But I'm grasping at straws because the actual match itself was quite good. And I'm okay with sometimes having Gunther get a dominating win over a big guy like this. I felt like Gunther dominated most of this match. I think that can be okay sometimes. So while I say it was a little short, I'm okay with the way it happened as well. So this is the match I was looking forward to most, and it did not disappoint. But I give this one an 8.5 out of 10.
Thanks very much, guys. Yeah, a lot of talking points to come from this one. It's exciting to see where these guys are going to go in the future. But for now, great match between the two of them. And let's talk about another match, which was also very, very good as well, in my opinion. We had the World Heavyweight Championship on the line, Seth freaking Rollins defending against Finn Balor in a rematch from Money in the Bank. So I went into this one thinking that Finn was going to win here, and I was pretty certain about that. I didn't really think that Seth was going to walk out as the champion, and they went the other way. They had Seth retain after some crazy ass stuff towards the end with Judgment Day. I was a little bit sort of disappointed with that. But in terms of the match itself, absolutely not. I think this was match of the night, in my opinion. It was just incredible from start to finish. And these two really put on a clinic in the ring. Just a shame about the outcome. It's like the one slight hindrance for this one. But yeah, I really did enjoy it, to be fair. There was a lot of confusion towards the Judgment Day. It didn't really make much sense as far as I'm concerned, because, I mean, if you think about it in like a logical sort of things, you've got Damien coming out with the briefcase and stuff, and apparently there was some sort of plan. We don't know what the plan was, but apparently Damien went against it because Finn said, "You're not sticking to the plan." What is the idea of Damien Priest? What is he trying to do? Because he cost Finn the championship at Money in the Bank. He's cost Finn the championship SummerSlam because he went against the plan, as Finn said. So what exactly is going on here with Damien Priest? Maybe we have to wait and find out. I don't know. But as things stand at the moment, you've got arguably the second biggest faction in the company, and obviously the Bloodline are now gone. So maybe even you class these guys as the top faction in the company, maybe. So you put the confusion element in, you start to stir the pot a little bit, and you're now making a joke of what this faction recently turned into becoming actually something really, really good, and something that was booked quite well. And, you know, we're getting into that really strong position. You've got the North American champion, you've got the Women's World Champion, you've got Mr. Money in the Bank, and you've got Finn Balor, who's obviously one of the top guys in the company. I thought that was a real opportunity to let it sort of like go along there. You sort of pick up the momentum as you go along, and you just roll with it. But I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do here. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And them, well, Finn and Damien having beef going forward, I guess will be explained. But for now, it just does seem really, really confusing. Yeah, let's talk about the match. Sorry, the match itself was great. Really, really close calls and near falls. There were a couple of moments where I thought, oh, that's it. And somehow they kicked out. I think one from each man in the match had like a really, really close kick out. I think Seth specifically had like a Roman Reigns type kick out at 2.999. But yeah, they played homage nicely to the match from 7 years ago in parts. Just wish Finn had won. But either way, tremendous match. I gave this one a 9.5 out of 10. It was really, really enjoyable. Just wish Finn had won. I think he deserved it. But either way, doesn't take away from a fantastic match between the two of them.
Yeah, so this match I thought was the best match of the night so far. I thought this was a really fun match. However, I kind of think there's going to be a feud against Finn and Damien. I think in the future they will have a match, and whoever loses leaves Judgment Day. But at the end, I like the finishing of Seth Rollins stomping Finn's head onto the Money in Bank briefcase to get the win, and this was a really good match. So I give this one a 10 out of 10. I thought this was really good and good to watch.
Yeah, to get the elephant in the room taken care of here, the booking decisions for this match, I'm treating separately from the actual match. It just seemed like it was the obvious choice to pass the title on to Finn. Seth doesn't need it. Finn and the Judgment Day would just help them kind of elevate to even higher grounds. As KP mentioned, Bloodline kind of is no longer, while their story is very much still intact. The actual faction really isn't. I just felt like that was a missed opportunity. Everything pointed towards Finn getting this title, the 7-year. Like, why bring up the 7-year thing if we're not going to use it for Finn to come out on top, especially with having 3 guys on the side helping him? It just doesn't make sense. It's a bit disappointing. Finn he needs this title. You know, he's gone way too long without one, and this just felt like the perfect time to give it to him. We'll see where they're gonna take Rollins from here. Just didn't make a ton of sense to not put it on Finn. And I realized they kind of booked themselves into a corner with the whole Damien getting the briefcase bit. And And the positive side here, I guess, is they can continue to tease that between him and Finn. But this was kind of why I wasn't a fan of Damien winning the briefcase to begin with. A, I don't think he's quite ready for a title, world title, and B, I feel like you're breaking up something that you're really in stride with in the Judgment Day. But we'll see where they go from here. From a match standpoint, though, I don't think you can ask for much more. Two of the best workhorses in the business, getting plenty of time and both kind of making calls back towards that match. Seth with the vest that he wore to the match, and then Finn using the move on Seth that dislocated his shoulder 7 years ago. So, this is one of those matches, if someone who hasn't seen wrestling, this is one you show them. Ton of fun. Had us on the edge of the seat, I think, the last 10, 15 minutes there. Every time we thought this was it, it wasn't. So those are always fun when not used too much. So this match was, I'd call this a perfect match. Booking aside, this match alone, I'd give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that was a lot to take from this one, right? Like, so many different directions. Like, you could have gone down, and they went with, obviously, the way they did. But it is one of those situations, right? We've got to move on, we've got to accept it, we've got to look forward to see what's planned next, and hopefully it's big things for both men, I guess, really. Okay, so how about we move on now, and we talk about the next match, which was for the WWE Women's Championship. You had Asuka going in, defending the championship against the likes of Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. So I'm pretty sure I went into this one saying it's between Charlotte and Asuka. Bianca stands absolutely no chance. I was wrong. I was slightly wrong. But to be fair, I didn't see the bigger picture from this one, I guess. The match itself was really, really good. Like, in terms of, like, the way that it went down, I quite enjoyed it. Like, you had all three women getting very, very heavily involved. No one shied away from offense. No one ducked away. And they all sort of, like, got involved as much as they physically could. It was a really, really good match. And I thought that I could really go on about the stuff that happened during. There were a lot of, like, big moments between all three women. But the main thing that we want to talk about is what came afterwards and at the very end. Obviously, you had Charlotte locking in a figure 8 on Bianca Belair, who had suffered so much punishment throughout the duration of the match that she actually went off injured. And I think she got, like, slightly up the ramp, and then she would say, "Oh, hell no!" She'd turn around, pop back in, and she'd fight against the injury. Like I said, she got put in that figure 8. Charlotte was looking to get the win. Asuka would spray the mist onto Charlotte's face whilst in that figure 8, and Asuka would get back into the ring, look to finish Bianca Belair off. She'd duck out the way of the kick, and she would roll her up for the win. Bianca becomes the new champion. At this point, live reactions. I am furious. I'm absolutely besides myself, because I'm thinking, no, we're gonna get however long now of Bianca Belair again. I don't want that. But thankfully, there's a savior, because Io Sky comes down to the ring. She cashes in her Money in the Bank contract after Bayley sees off Asuka and Charlotte, and Io picks up the victory. Quick time win. She hits over the moonsault and gets the 1-2-3 on Belair. We have another new champion. Io Sky cashes in successfully. What a great moment it was for her. Dakota Kai would come back and join the celebrations of Damage Control. It was just a really good feel good moment, and loved it. But yeah, really, really good match between the three of them, and a cracking spot at the end with a cash in. Gave this whole thing a 9 out of 10. Thought it was fantastic, and hopefully Io gets a wonderful reign. Maybe we get Asuka against Io coming up soon, possibly even Io against Bianca Belair as well. We've already seen that this year, which is really, really good. But yeah, Io with a good reign. Fingers crossed she does get that.
Yeah, this got to be my second favourite match of the show. These women put great effort into this, but at the end, as Io came to cash in, I thought it was a really good fit moment, and I'm really glad that the cash in worked, because, as KP said, I wonder how long it will take for Bianca to lose the championship again. So I give this match a 9 out of 10. I thought this was really good quality, good match, So I thought this was really good.
Yeah, so similar to what's already been said, this match was full of emotion, just like the Seth versus Finn match. Really had me on the edge of my seat for a good portion of the match. I think if anyone was booked a bit weak, maybe you could point to Asuka. I think Bianca kind of shined the most in this match. And I, unlike KP, was quite happy to see her hold the title. I didn't give her a shot either, but I loved the way they booked that from a booking standpoint. Well, she sold the injury. I thought she was actually injured. Of course, that was before announced team comes in and usually gives away that's not a real injury. And then when she came back into the match, I was fuming because I thought, oh, great, this is exactly what Charlotte's going to do. She's going to get that title off of an injured Bianca Belair. And the fact that, well, most people can't hold, withhold from tapping from the figure four leg lock as long as Bianca did without injury, but she did it with injury. And so I think they really made her look strong here. I don't think it'll be too long before she has another title reign. That being said, I'm glad that Bianca won it and not Charlotte. Besides the obvious reasons, I think that kind of limits Charlotte's ability to go back for the title. Never say never because it's Charlotte and WWE. But I think both Asuka having lost the title and Bianca having lost the title, I think they kind of have grounds for being a first opponent. I think most people want to see the Asuka versus Io feud anyways. Having Io win in the style that she did with Bayley coming in, kind of Bayley doing the grunt work, I think maybe just to make sure she gets it. But I think we might have like something coming up in the near future in regards to how Bayley did most of the work, and so maybe that'll kind of create some more tension between them. I know we've already had a bit, but we'll see where that goes. Hopefully not. I'd rather wait and see that, and I'd rather see Bianca and Asuka go after her first. But absolutely elated to see Io hold the title, even if we had to go through a briefcase to do it. I'm excited to see where that reign goes. Just like the other match, I'd give this one a 10 out of 10 as well. Although the in-ring work wasn't as good, I think the roller coaster we went through, basically from the Bianca injury, was incredible. So this was a fun watch, and any match without a Charlotte winning is going to be a great one, right?
Yeah, to be fair, you're not wrong. With Charlotte not winning, that is a big dub. So can't argue with that one really. Okay, so one more match still to go, guys, here to talk through, and that was the main event. We had the tribal combat match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, would take on Jey Uso, and this one was obviously for the title. It was also for the head of the table title as well. So this one had a big fight feel to it. It was a big fight feel, and there were lots and lots and lots that went down in this match. In the build-up, this whole tribal combat thing, it was being built up to be rumored that it could be contested under no disqualifications, but no interferences. Like, it was meant to sort of be basically just between the two men who were involved in the dispute, obviously Roman and Jey. But, yeah, it didn't work. That was never going to happen. And there was much involvement throughout. Obviously, you had Solo Sikoa making his presence known early on, coming to the aid of the tribal chief, and sticking it to Jey. Jey would eventually turn that around. He would get the advantage. He would be looking to close out the win against Roman, and then somebody in a hooded in a hooded attire would drag Jey out as he's getting the pin on Roman, and it would be revealed to be Jimmy Uso, Jey's brother. Twin brother. And we knew Jimmy was going to be involved in this one. We knew that he was going to make his presence known, and outside chance that he would betray Jay. That's exactly what he did, and I think it makes sense when you think about it. He was the one that was against Jay being tribal chief in the first place. He was against him being the right-hand man. Perhaps Jimmy is jealous of Jay for being in the position that he's in, and maybe Jimmy wants some of the spotlight for himself, and fair enough, I can understand that. So, yeah, Jimmy making his presence known, costing Jay the match. Roman will pick up the win, and he is still the tribal chief. One's up in the sky. But in terms of the match, it was pretty good, I thought. Like, throughout, it was pretty compelling. You had some nice moments with Jay getting Uranagi through a table. Roman would spear Solo by mistake. Jay Samoan dropping Roman through a table at ringside. It had a lot of good elements to it. It was a bit slow for the most part, which is my only real criticism, but I don't think that changed the fact that it was a good watch. So I enjoyed it nonetheless. Roman Reigns' reign continues. He can move on to other challenges now, hopefully, fingers crossed. See what's next for him when he next shows up. But yeah, good match nonetheless. I gave this one a 9 out of 10. Very, very enjoyable watch.
Yeah, I agree with KP this one. Thought this was kind of fun. But at the first bit, I got a bit bored of just watching Roman just like dismantling Jay a lot, just like hitting him a bit and doing like little hits and kicks and stuff. But once Juice got the momentum and get to hit Roman a bit more and whacked him with his stick and got momentum, that's when it turned to be a bit better. So, however, I thought this match was really good. They're lacking at their start, but build up to the end like it normally does in Roman's matches, and does a good match to do it and leaves you on the cliffhanger what's going to happen next, especially for Solo and Roman, as Solo didn't help Roman and Roman Spear Solo. So I give this match an 8 out of 10, really good, and I thought it was fun to the end.
Yeah, an unusually slow start, at least in my opinion, especially considering what time of night it was already, or morning for those of you across the pond. Yeah, disregarding the whole rules bit. Rules are meant to be broken, I guess. So disregarding that bit, though, to have Jimmy come into this match to further muddy the waters and prolong the feud, I guess. But I don't, and we'll see where they take it. But it just kind of feels like at this point they're prolonging just to prolong it, which is fine, I guess. I'm assuming it's making them a lot of money, and so probably warranted to prolong it. But at least come up with something a little better. Again, we'll see where they take this. But Jimmy coming in to attack Jay just does not make any sense to me, and feels a bit lazy in terms of the booking. If you all have any idea where they're going with this, I'd love to hear. After I give the rating here, I'd love to hear where you think they're taking this. But if Jay coming in is one thing and makes sense, and leave it at that. But to have Jimmy come in just doesn't make any sense. And for me personally, took away from the match itself. Afterwards, I'm having trouble remembering what took place in the match, because all I can think of is, why is Jimmy attacking Jay? That being said, the match was good. I think the previous 3 were better. But usually I try not to let the booking come into play and affect a match, but it did on this one. So I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. But if you just let Jay and Roman fight, a clean match here, again, I feel like a broken record, but a heel can win a match sometimes without interference. Something that's really riddled this whole bloodline story is the interference is just constant. Like every now and then it's fine, but just let the heel win a match clean sometimes. That's my biggest complaint here. And again, we'll see where they take the Jimmy thing, but it just doesn't make any sense to me at the moment.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of really regarding that, you make a good point, is literally just because Jimmy is jealous of the sort of like level that Jay's got himself into within the family. He's the one that's the right hand man. He's the one that's the successor to the tribal chief, apparently. Yeah, I don't know. It could be out of pure jealousy alone. I don't see another avenue to go down. It's kind of a shame that these two are going to feud because obviously they are such a great tag team together. But maybe a match between the two of them could be freaking epic at the same time. But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I'm not against the Jimmy versus Jay feud. I kind of feel like we've already been down this path with Jimmy and Jay kind of, not completely trusting each other. I feel like we've kind of already been down this road. So I feel like they're just trying to prolong it to milk that cow, so to speak.
Yeah, I get that, to be fair. I don't know. Maybe that's the way, maybe it's not, but who knows? So, yeah, that was SummerSlam in a nutshell, basically. Everything that went down during the show. I thought, there's a lot of talking points to come from that one. If we go through our overall points here and what we all thought about it and like get into sort of like our main reactions, we'll go from there. So I thought it was a pretty good show overall. Had some really great moments throughout with especially like EO cashing in. That was a top highlight for myself personally. The Seth and Finn match was quality. Ricochet Logan started off the show really, really well. Couple of questionable booking choices from my perspective, but I don't think it took anything away from the show itself. Ronda and Shayna, the main disappointment for me in terms of how lackluster the match was. But yeah, in terms of the show, I thought it was actually pretty good, and it delivered in a lot of senses. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 overall. And yeah, the future is clear for the most part about where to go from here on for most people. Just maybe the Seth and Finn. Well, I didn't say Seth and Finn, Finn and Damien. It's the main sort of like confusional point going forward for myself. But yeah, looking forward to hearing Jimmy's explanation as well.
Yeah, so the show that I thought was good. So obviously Bianca Belair, Asuka, Charlotte, the triple threat match was really good. And the outcome of Io Sky cashing in and winning the title, that was really good. The Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor match was really good, but as KP said, the questioning of Damon Priest and Finn Balor, but I think that will be them two going against each other in the future. Else, I thought the other matches were really good. Just the downfall of Shayna and Ronda. So I rate this show an 8 out of 10. I will rate this a 9 if Shayna and...
Yeah, this pay-per-view is definitely one, or premium live event, whatever we call it nowadays, was definitely one with highs and lows. I think either of the Money in the Bank involvement matches should have main evented. I know technically there were 4 main events, and KP's over there punching the wall right now. But I think either of those could have served as better main events. Just the taste in my mouth I can't quite get out of Jimmy turning for seemingly no reason. I'd love to come back and say I'm wrong, and it was a great decision. But yeah, most matches were really good. Just a few questionable booking decisions, as already mentioned. I give it an 8 out of 10. A pretty good SummerSlam all in all.
Punching the air confirmed. Yeah, it was a good show. I'm glad we all sort of like can agree on that one. But yeah, what we've got Payback coming up next, haven't we? That's early September, I believe. So yeah, we've got a few weeks to go until then. So a little bit of time to go, about a month or so from start to finish, really. But yeah, looking forward to that one. Should be good. Obviously, we get a clear direction of what's going on in the next couple of weeks, and should be an exciting one. But that'll be our next video and podcast. So yeah, be a little while away, but we will be back then during that time for the Payback predictions, theories, discussions, and whatnot. Thank you very much to Scarlett and Kurt for joining me here today. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and yeah, we'll see you next time. We'll see you for the next video and podcast. This has been another KP's Place YouTube video and podcast. If you're listening on Spotify for podcasters, with me, KP, because that would be me, and with Scarlett and Kurt, because that would be them. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time.